Republic Broadcasting Network. Because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, September 18th, hump day, middle of the weekday, starting at long, slow glide down to Pauhana Friday, and whatever else is going to happen to keep us all interested and intrigued and so forth and so on here. Now, obviously, the big news continues to be the situation between Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen, with Yemen still insisting they were behind the launch of the attack against the petroleum facilities inside Saudi Arabia. But the narrative now is, well, we don't care who actually launched the weapons. They came from Iran, therefore Iran gets the blame. That's like saying that somebody who holds up a bank is not going to be arrested. They're going to go after the gun manufacturers, which the gun grabbers have actually floated as an idea. But Trump has backed off a military strike and has called for new sanctions. He basically went to the Treasury Secretary and said, more sanctions, more sanctions, more sanctions. But I think the big problem is right now, Trump and the Trump administration, they're dealing with a credibility crisis because nobody is buying this nonsense that Iran had anything to do with this. I mean, if Iran is selling weapons to other countries and these countries do bad things with them, I mean, that's like the United States that sells weapons, to like Saudi Arabia, who is doing bad things with them. And maybe it would be nice if there was some accountability. But at this particular point, everybody's saying, no, you've got Iran saying they had nothing to do with this. You've got the Houthis in Yemen saying, yeah, we did it, and we're going to do it again. And so nobody is buying the official story that we have to go into Iran, that we have to bomb them, that we have to declare war on them, or any of this other nonsense here. So Donald Trump hit them with more sanctions. But the fact of the matter is that they're losing the narrative over Iran. And probably a good reason for that is we, the American people, we've heard the same story over and over and over again. Oh, this leader is evil. He's sponsoring terror. He's oppressing his own people. He's gassing his own people. He's got weapons of mass destruction, or he's about to get them. Therefore, we must do something. And we have heard it way too many times to take it seriously any longer. Anyway, Mike Pompeo is over there in Jeddah. He is still pushing this idea that the attack on the petroleum facility in Saudi Arabia represents an act of war and deserves a military response. A lot of hawks are still out there saying sanctions aren't enough. Go on in with the bombs and go on in with the missiles and so forth. So the Saudi Defense Ministry is now on board with the cover story. They were assigning public blame on Iran for the attacks, saying the air attacks unquestionably had Iranian state sponsorship. Notice they've stopped trying to say that the attack actually came from Iran, only that Iran is ultimately to blame because Iran is giving the Houthis these various weapons, forgetting the fact that last July, the Houthis put on an exhibition and display of their own domestically produced cruise missiles and rockets. And these drones, it's a pretty standard design. So right now, the only people pushing for war with Iran is a coalition of the foolish, if you will. And there are these reckless governments that are out there saying, yes, let's have more war. Israel, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and of course, the United States of America. And the reaction so far from Iran has been calm. They're maintaining their innocence. They've decided not to cower beneath the storm clouds from Washington. It threatens Canada with its own sanctions if the Canadians do not release seized Iranian assets. And an oil tanker that was carrying diesel to the United Arab Emirates has now been seized by the Iranians on the grounds of smuggling. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani told the Syria summit in Ankara, Turkey, there can be no stability in Syria as long as U.S. troops remain there. Iran is basically not backing down. They're refusing to blink. It has taken the position it must stand strong and call the U.S. bluff, which is certainly fraught with a certain degree of danger. But what else are they going to do? They're being blamed for something which apparently they didn't actually do. Again, you've got the Houthis saying it was us. We did it. Now, Saudi Arabia recently released the evidence that they've collected, which are the bits and pieces of the drones and rockets that hit the petroleum facility. They're, of course, all crushed up beyond all recognition. They're burned, and there are no numbers or markings to indicate made in there's nothing in there that says made in Iran or sold from Iran. Okay, we're going to take a phone call now from Steve Elkins. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Michael, how's Indiana treating you?
It's doing fine. We got our car yesterday. The weather is definitely turning autumnal. And so Claire and I got to look at getting some warmer clothes.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, I just came by a quote here. I just thought it just kind of applies to this, what's going on. You know, we're supposed to put a lot of belief and trust in Mike Pompeo. When this is the guy that came out of the Academy, Naval Academy saying, well, honor was at stake there. You had to be really honorable. And, of course, he entered the CIA, and where we lied,
Yes.
we stole, and we cheated. He forgot to add kill, because I'm sure that's part of the CIA protocol. But this
definitely.
is the guy we're supposed to believe. Yeah, we're supposed to believe this guy. But the quote I want to throw at you is, the mother of all evil is speculation. And that's exactly what's going on here. And there's so many people watching. We got satellite photos. We got everything watching this region here. And to just show some rockets on the ground and say this belongs to them and never show any footage to show, well, here's rocket fire from Iran going over to Saudi oil refinery. You can't show that. Well, it's because it doesn't exist. So, they're prodding and poking and seeing somebody to take the bait here. But I believe it's probably to kind of bail them out on this economic collapse that's coming up, because the economy is not doing well at all. And this may spur the economy a little bit. A war usually does for a little bit for some people. And maybe there's a little bit of a trickle-down effect. But I assume that this is purely for economics right now, purely economics and greed.
Well, the economics are a little more complex. I mean, Iran is one of the few countries not enslaved to a private central bank. And, of course, the United States wants Iran's oil to be sold only for the U.S. dollar to prop up the dollar, and Iran is refusing to go along with that.
Right. Yep, they're the enemy. They're the enemy because they won't trade on anything else but the dollar. Yep. All right, that's it, Mike. Talk to you soon.
All right, thanks an awful lot, Steve. We're going to let you go, and let's clear the little message area. Here we are. Okay, now, so Saudi Arabia has basically put out these displays of all this beat up, bent, broken, burned wreckage. And they're out there saying, oh, well, this definitely proves that Iran was sponsoring this. You know, they've backed off trying to claim that the attack actually came from Iranian territory. And I think the new improved propaganda is that, yes, the Houthis did it, but they did it with weapons provided by Iran. But again, people aren't paying attention. We've heard all of this stuff so many times. And we're tired of seeing our kids in uniform getting killed and crippled in all of these endless wars based on lies. Remember when they were out there saying that Saddam had nuclear weapons and Assad was gassing his people? And it's lie after lie after lie after lie. And they've been doing it going all the way back, at least to the USS Maine. So people are understandably cautious. They're skeptical. And we should be. We should be. We're seeing the only real belligerent in the world today, right now, is the United States. They're the aggressor. I mean, just look at how many wars the United States is involved in, at least 7 that we know of, and who knows how many covert interventions are going on. Got 800 military bases around the world, costing us a fortune. It's pretty obvious who the aggressor is here. Anyway, the Saudi ambassador to London, Prince Khalid bin Bandar bin Sultan Al Saud, is out there. He's joining of the propaganda, saying the recent attack on the kingdom's oil facilities was almost certainly backed by Iran. They don't have any actual evidence. So apparently they're basing this entirely on the fact that one of the drones had a delta wing design. And they're saying, well, this is clearly Iranian technology. Actually, no, it isn't. A lot of drones have delta wings. All right, we're going to take a phone call now. Jim in Illinois. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, Michael, while everyone is talking about Iran, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, whatever, did you hear what happened last night?
Can you be a little bit more specific?
I will. Sure. The Federal Reserve, they had to give $54 billion to the money market funds because they were running out of money. And the last time they did this was 2008. So Steve is correct. We're facing a major a collapse, and they're using the war to use as an excuse to make things look a little better.
They very well might. I know that a big chunk of that money from the Fed went to cover some derivatives exposure over at Bank of America. So apparently some of those derivatives are now coming due as the economy deteriorates. And that's a time bomb. I mean, the derivatives exposure globally is in the quadrillions of dollars.
Now, you would think people would be talking about that, but they don't want to.
Nope.
No, Michael, that's just it. You take care.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Joe in Tennessee. Aloha, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. This is really funny how, you hit the nail on the head when you said the word credibility. Mm-hmm. And how they've destroyed their credibility with this deep state Russia collusion hoax and their attacks on Trump. And now they want to get a war all drummed up. And the same people that was always chanting USA, USA, and the people that really would support wars are kind of more conservative middle America types are aware of the corruption of the CIA and the FBI and the media and the deep state. So they're all going around going, hey, we can't start a war anymore. What's going on? What happened? And guys like Brennan and Clapper and Obama weaponizing the intelligence agencies and the FBI. It's really wonderful. And I've been cheering it on the whole time. I can't believe they went so far out on a limb to destroy Trump. And now they're powerless. They really are not going to have a hard time getting a war started. So it's worked. It's worked.
Yes.
Us guys that have been out there calling them on it and pointing it out, we've weakened them. We've bled them dry. They don't have the power to just go lie to the people anymore and get a rah-rah drum roll and have us march off to war. They have been defanged. And I think Trump's playing with them. Trump isn't going to go to war. Trump doesn't want a war. I think that in what they're talking about with the derivatives and the economic collapse, I think Trump is sitting back just waiting to have an economic reset and destroy the Federal Reserve. He's blaming the Fed right now. You see him on TV. He's always blaming Powell. If there's an economic collapse, he's going to go with a sharp knife and he's going to blame it all on the Federal Reserve and these warmonger, deep state media, whatever he wants. And we'll see what happens. I mean, he's got him by the whats with all this information and the FISA and the D-Class and the Epstein files. You watch. I mean, this is wonderful. I mean, when the guy was talking before, is Steve, and he was talking about them having videos and satellites. don't you think the Russians do too? I mean, they're right there in Syria.
Yeah.
So if they go start a war based on, the Russians can just play the videotape and say, oh, by the way, here's those cruise missiles that came out of the Saudi base when they attacked themselves, or the Israelis attacked them, or So I think that this is a big game going on. It's not that it's not dangerous, but it is ridiculous and almost comical. And what I love the most is how all these same deep staters that just totally threw away the credibility of their institutions and agencies are running around finally realizing that they don't have any credibility anymore. The street creds are gone. And the same rock rib Americans that would cheat. Oh, I'm sorry, what?
No, I was agreeing with you.
No, I'm saying the same red-blooded Americans that always went rah, 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 hiss, boom, bah, we love our war, bomb, 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 Iran, realize what a bunch of rotten bastards these CIA liars are and these deep state media neocons are. It's not going to work anymore. And hopefully they start rounding them up and putting them in prison where they belong. I can.
Well, I would like to see that, but there is a downside to the collapse of the economy, and that, of course, is that the corporate media is going to dump the blame for it all on Trump. It was Trump's policies that led to this economic crash. The economy was just fine coming out of the Obama administration, which, of course, is completely nonsense. The economy's been in trouble for a very, very long time, and it had to crash sometime. And I'm sure the Democrats are very happy it's going to crash under Trump's watch because they can tarnish him with it.
Well, I mean, we'll see where the blame goes. I mean, once again, I think Trump is not going to care about the blame game. He's going to move on to resetting the monetary supply and getting rid of the Fed.
He's got an election next year. He's got an election next year.
And all the people that are on the Democratic side are going to be having to explain the Russia collusion hoax and the FISA corruption, and the Epstein, Bill Clinton videos and things like that they have up their sleeves. So I don't, it's just the way I look at it. But they have those wars and civilians get killed. It's called collateral damage, and this is all collateral damage of the Russian collusion hoax. This whole thing. And when I called like last week before September 11th and said, watch out for September 11th. Now, in September 11th, 2008, the monetary system froze up, and they had to inject money to get the money market unfrozen. And you never even heard about it till about a week later. So you're hearing these bits and pieces of 54 billion here and there. We really don't know what's going on like in real time with the financial system, and they won't inform us. I mean, you might see nips and tucks from the Dow and things like that, but the real money, like I said, if the money freezes up and derivatives start going a belly up and you have a panic there, you might not know it for a couple, 3 or 4 days later. So, let's see what happens. But in 2008, on September 11th, the money markets froze up, and we didn't even know about it till a week later. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Well, the latest word I've got is that the Federal Reserve may engage in yet another round of quantitative easing. They don't want to call it that. They're looking for a new name for it because everybody remembers that the previous QEs really helped the rich people, but not ordinary people. So they're looking for a new name, but it basically amounts to QE.
Yeah, and well, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but that's I guess that's about it. So.
All right. Well, then, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go, and the phone lines are now open, 800-313-9443. Okay, over in Yemen, the Houthi rebels are again threatening new attacks on Saudi oil facilities. They certainly act like they're behind this attack, which is a huge embarrassment to the United States, which sold Saudi Arabia all these anti-missile systems and radars and Patriot missiles. And whoever launched this attack just blew right past all of them. And they're saying, well, these drones were flying very, very low and they were lost in the ground clutter and hemming and hawing. Anyway, we got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the 7 seas, yeah, I want to.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. So we're talking about events in Saudi Arabia. Donald Trump, at least for the moment, has backed off the military option. The Hawks are still pushing for a strike against Iran. But Donald Trump has called for new sanctions against Iran. Iran is already taking steps to avoid U.S. sanctions. They're bypassing the SWIFT system, and they're avoiding the dollar in trade transactions. So they're pulling the teeth out of the American dragon. All right, let's take a phone call from Don in Arizona. Aloha, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. I wanted to talk about a dream I had. And it's hard to prove. You can't prove that you had a dream, but you have to take my word for it that I didn't make this up. But this is a multimedia dream. It was a unique dream. I was listening to you. I think it was Monday night. I was listening to your show on the videotaped version. So after the show was over, late Monday night, and I fell asleep. And then I had a dream that you were talking, and it was you, but instead of you sitting in front of the computer. You were standing up. This is really happened. You're standing up in a doorway, and you were talking exactly what you were talking. I guess I was still hearing your voice there, but I was dreaming that you were standing up. And across the room, there was these two guys there. One of them was a military officer, looked like, and the other one looked like some kind of a CIA guy. And they were standing there looking at you. And then you walked over to them and just looked at them. And one guy started screaming, and you were right 2 feet from his face, but you didn't flinch or anything. You were just looking right at him. And he started screaming, and then they walked off. And then I woke up, and I still heard you on the TV. So that was the dream, and I just wanted to get that off my chest there. That happened. But as far as this impeachment of Kavanaugh, what they're doing is they're just bringing up the subject. Right now, they can't do anything. They can't impeach him. But if the Democrats ever get control of all three branches, the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they are showing they're going to impeach everybody they don't like, including any Supreme Court justice they don't like. They can if they have all the presidency and the Senate, they can kick Kavanaugh out, and they don't have to have a good reason. They can just manufacture something. Nobody can stop them.
Well, they've seriously blown the current accusations against Kavanaugh, and the fault for that lies with the New York Slimes. And the reporters who wrote the story are trying to pass the buck and say, well, it was the editors who deleted the line which said that the accuser had no memory of the assault. And these two reporters are making the rounds of TV shows right now. And they're pushing this idea that because the accuser was incredibly drunk at this party, that explains why she has no memory of the assault. Well, if she has no memory of the assault and nobody else has a memory of the assault, where did the original accusation come from?
Well, the thing is, it's a totally baseless thing. It always was. It always will be. But what I'm saying is by continuing to bring this up, they're trying to acclimate the American people to say, hey, I guess they're going to impeach somebody, and they really want the control of the Supreme Court because what's screwing them up. And they might be able to get the House, they might be able to get the Senate, but as long as the Supreme Court remains conservative, they can't. They don't like that. So anyway,
I'm interpreting this new attack on Kavanaugh as an indicator that Ruth Bader Ginsburg's medical prognosis is not good, and that the liberals are terrified that Trump is going to soon be able to nominate yet another judge to the Supreme Court who will even be more conservative.
And another thing about it is by continuing to, he ruined Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh's got two little girls. He's got a regular, standard life of a lawyer and or judge or whatever. But his two little girls have to hear about this. They can't handle that. He can't handle it. His family can't handle it. Now, by continuing to just attack him with these baseless claims, they're also they're going to make all lawyers everywhere think, hey, I better not be a Republican because I'm going to just be attacked. Especially somebody might want to be a Supreme Court judge. That's why lawyers stay Democrat, because they don't want to get attacked all the time. Okay, I'll let you go, Mike. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. The message queue is now empty. 800-313-9443. Okay, now Saudi Arabia has decided to join the U.S. naval mission in the Middle East amid the soaring tensions with Iran. So Saudi Arabia has joined this U.S.-led naval mission supposedly to protect shipping lanes in Middle Eastern waterways. And Washington and Riyadh engage in another blame game against Iran following massive Yemeni drone attacks on key Saudi oil facilities. Okay, we got to take another break for commercial. Back with a phone call after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Paul in New Jersey. Aloha, Paul. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Michael, concerning the situation in Saudi Arabia, for one, we should remember, the Saudis have been basically using American weaponry in Yemen for the past so many years.
Yes.
Since, I believe, 2015. And, the death toll in Yemen, it really is a large humanitarian crisis. I was just reading about the amount of children who've died, the breakouts of famine and cholera in Yemen. And so it really is a Saudi-sponsored humanitarian disaster, and they're using American bombs. We could just as easily send a film crew into Yemen and find, parts of American bombs and some of the shrapnel linked to American bomb manufacturers, and say to the world, and it can be shown to the world, hey, here's America supporting the mass murdering, child-starving Saudis. We should also remember that, 15 of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 were Saudis, according to the government.
The official story, yes.
official story, and that the Saudis are also the big sponsors of ISIS and Al Qaeda. Osama bin Laden being born in Saudi Arabia, he was a Saudi. So, and the world sponsor of radical Wahhabist Islam is Saudi Arabia. Also, Saudi Arabia doesn't even have an election at all. Iran has elections. It's a theocratic republic, the nation of Iran. So the way we look at this is just extremely perverted for the way at least the media does. Of course, you and I, we understand it. We see it more objectively. But the way that we're expected now, finally, after all this fighting between the Houthi minority of, who are more allied, I'm sure they're Shiite. It's about 35% of the population of Yemen, and allied with the Iranians. They finally get a shot in at the Saudis, and you think it's the end of the world. And that's what's so incredible about this. I mean, years and years of just butchering Yemenis, you don't hear a word. Saudis finally get a bloody nose, and now we're supposed to wait a minute. America is supposed to send our people to fight and die against the Iranians. And what it really comes down to, it's because the Saudis have money. We're a capitalist nation, and all we really do is respect money, not decency, not humanity, not the children, not the brown children in the way they'd make it sound in the media, that we're supposed to care about the poor children in the third world nations. No. We care more that the Saudis got a bloody nose. And it's absurd. It's just absurd on its face. And like the earlier callers were correct. I think Joe from Tennessee, he was dead on. It's people are seeing through it, Yeah. And I think the left isn't comfortable with this either. I don't think they're, maybe the leadership of the left, the corrupt Democrats are for this. But most people in the street, they want nothing to do with this. They say, and by the way, let the Saudis fight for themselves. They just bought our weapons, right? Yes. Why should we have anything to do with it? Use your weapons. Hey, and this could be a great way, and I've always advocated for this anyway. Why not use, instead of Saudi Arabia using the United States as a proxy, why doesn't America do the classically imperialist thing and use these other nations as our proxies? So let the Saudis send their sons to die, right, against the Iranians, and we'll see how it works out. And we know how it's going to work out. The Iranians will win. That's how it will work out.
Well, the people of Yemen have turned out to be a lot tougher than Saudi Arabia was expecting. They thought this was going to be a real slam dunk and reimpose the so-called internationally approved government over Yemen. But the people of Yemen have just shown themselves to be incredibly tough here. And you're absolutely right. The attitude seems to be, what do you mean Yemen is shooting back? Are they allowed to do that? And I think the reason why they're taking the focus off of Yemen and not paying attention to them is probably most people are going to say Yemen has every right to be shooting at Saudi Arabia after years of Saudi Arabia's bombing campaigns. And I think they're trying to put the onus on Iran, saying that, Saudi Arabia hasn't done anything to Iran, therefore Iran is in the wrong here.
Well, another thing is I think Saudi Arabia at one point tried to enact a naval blockade on the Yemenis. And I think the United States was playing a role in that until world opinion said, wait a minute, you can't be starving people in Yemen over this. And I think we kind of backed down because of world opprobrium towards the United States. But it does seem as though, Saudi Arabia has had a free hand to butcher and starve and, fire shots at the Yemenis all these years. And that's what's ridiculous about this. And it would be good to see more pundits in throughout the world just revisiting the history of the Yemeni conflict. And let's really, maybe it needs to be pushed to the UN and try to resolve the conflict politically and diplomatically and not take it out on the Iranians. Just because the Iranians sell missiles too. I mean, I guess maybe Trump would be happier if the Yemenis bought American weapons. Maybe they should make an offer to buy American weapons, the Yemenis. And then once Trump says, yeah, that'll make jobs for Americans, right? Isn't that what it's all about? Making jobs and money, right? And then maybe we'll be even more ambivalent and indifferent, like we should be, because that's actually what George Washington intended in his farewell address. And on that note, Michael, thank you for humoring me.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. Good day to you. Yeah, Michael, one thing first off, talking about Iran, I don't know if you had a chance to see the footage of Jimmy Carter 2 days ago talking about that anybody that turns 80 years old shouldn't be president because he said he couldn't do the job at 80. And, you got Biden and Bernie who would both be almost 80 years old on their almost their first year of office. And, Carter, when he was in the 50s, he couldn't do his job as president. Look what happened with the Iran, with the helicopter. Look what the blunder he did with the hostages. So you had that lame brain Democrat Carter. And then one thing he's right about. I'll admit, Jimmy Carter's right about one thing. He's right about, 80-year-old man like Biden or Sanders, they can't do the job now, let alone when they're another year or two older. So that's a disaster and ready to happen. Now, getting back to, and also Carter's grandson is when it took the picture of Romney saying that he'll never get 49% of the vote. And at the same time, you got the backstabbing Mormon Romney winning by the picture of Louis Farrakhan and Barry Soetoro, Hussein Obama, and Mad Maxine Waters and Elijah was the new Cummings. I mean, unbelievable what's happened in that situation. But I don't want to talk about that after this, Michael. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about, did you see yesterday's Corey Lewandowski hearing?
Yes.
Did you see the main guy that actually spoke of all the men who spoke? I'm going to tell you the guy who stood out the most for me, Michael. That was Mr. Congressman Buck. That guy Buck, when he said, Sheila Jackson Lee went crazy about, she thought he was calling the Democratic Party idiots.
Yeah.
That to me was the most poignant point of that whole hearing was, here she's being offended, like she thought he was pointing out that the Democrats are idiots. He didn't even say it the way that she thought. But that guy really told the truth about what's going on with the Democratic Party, the Bolshevikism. He brought up the Tsar of Russia. I mean, that guy gave one heck of a speech, that guy Buck. I think, what's his first name? I can't remember his first name.
I don't remember it either. But
he's from Colorado. I wish you could play his speech back, Michael, because his speech that he gave for 2 minutes was unbelievable what did right there on that speech. So anyway, another thing is also getting back to what your last caller, you know what, we shouldn't even be worried about any of these Middle Eastern wars. We need to worry about our borders, the illegal invasion of our own country. We don't know what kind of terrorism is coming through that border. We got gang members coming in. LA's got 100,000 gangs. That's the real problem is with them. Donald Trump knows this, Michael. Donald Trump knows the real problem ain't with the Middle East. It's our invasion of our own country. You got 27 million illegals in this country. Okay? Yes. You got cities being overrun. You got Texas is going to be turning blue if he doesn't go in there right now with the military, start deporting them all out of there. I mean, once that state's blue, Michael, like we've talked, it's over for the Republican Party. And you know what? We don't need to be talking about the Middle East or what's happening with Iran or Afghanistan. Who gives a damn? Who really gives a damn what happened to those places? I don't. Do you? I don't care.
Well, I'm concerned because
when Ronald Reagan had to go in there, because Jimmy Carter blew that, and it took Ronald Reagan to get the hostages out. I guess Reagan was so crazy he was basically threatening to nuke Iran at the time. I don't know what he was going to blast it. I know that. But, the Iranians realized, hey, man, you got a nut in there. You don't have a Jimmy Carter in there. You got a president like Reagan. So that's why the Iranians backed down back in 1981, whenever that was.
Well, there was some under-the-table deal-making going on as well. As a matter of fact, if you remember the story of the October surprise, representatives of Reagan and Bush literally made a deal with Iran to not release the hostages until the election. And there is a considerable body of evidence that Jimmy Carter's rescue mission into Iran was deliberately sabotaged to make him look bad. I mean, we're seeing today what candidates for president are willing to do, what crimes they're willing to engage in to win that office. And so we shouldn't really be too shocked and surprised about any of that.
No, I agree. And like your last caller said, we should be selling weapons at Yemen. And, maybe that would work out and like create jobs here in this country. The stock market, by the way, did go back up and they cut the interest rate. So that's a good sign, I guess. But, everything we hear about these liberal Democrats talking about Trump yesterday, I think Lewandowski's going to be the next senator of New Hampshire, to tell you the truth. That would really freak him out. But, speaking of all these Democrats, Michael, I noticed all of them that spoke for the Democratic Party in the beginning were all Zionists. Nadler,
yes.
Cohen, Deutsch, the woman Brown. I mean, they're all how are they getting so much power if they're only 2% of the population? How?
They spy, they blackmail, they bribe.
It's amazing to me. And I think Benjamin Netanyahu, he's in a little trouble in Israel now. He's losing by a seat or something. So they're all in the media. They're making oh my God, we don't know what's going to happen with this. Oh my God. I mean, this whole thing is like a big giant cabal. And nothing we don't hear about is Weinstein. And we don't hear about Weinstein, what he committed. We hear about Epstein, and we don't know the nonsense of the decombobulation of that. But one more thing, Michael. What about what's going on with Hillary Clinton selling uranium to Russia? What happened with that story, Michael?
It just went away. It just went away. And I mean, that was Hillary Clinton's weak point, and Trump should have exploited it. But he didn't. Now we're continuing to hear rumblings that Hillary may step in to save the Democratic Party next year. But Trump needs to put on those presidential brass knuckles and start really cleaning house.
Hey, Michael, but is that a fact that actually Hillary did sell uranium to the Russians? It was part of her.
She facilitated the deal. She facilitated the deal through the State Department, getting the Russians. It was basically a Russian-owned Canadian company to get them the leasehold on the land where the uranium is located, about 20% of America's uranium reserves, which, by the way, we don't have it to spare. But apparently Hillary Clinton's State Department got the approvals ready for Russia and Canada to do this. And at the same time, all kinds of Russian money was pouring into the Clinton Foundation.
Right. Michael, one more thing, getting back to immigration, I saw tapes of Hillary. They had it on One American News. Hillary, Schumer, all these Democrats 3 years ago were screaming, we got to build a wall. I voted, and Hillary is saying she was a senator. I voted for the wall 3 times. But now, not one Democrat is backing Trump on immigration. None. And we keep,
they want those illegal immigrants to vote. Is really what it comes. Exactly. That's why back in 2016, they were going to all the states and they were having the voter ID laws declared unconstitutional or overturned or repealed or what have you, so that anybody can go in and vote. And they're going to tell the illegal immigrants, hey, if you vote Democratic, we will give you free stuff.
Well, Michael, Costa Mesa, California now?
Yeah.
It's 54% Hispanic. Orange County's switched. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on in some of these counties in the United States.
Yep.
And it's not by legal immigrants. It's an illegal invasion. And
well,
I don't know why Trump is not arresting these people right away. I don't know why the feds.
I don't know why he isn't either. It's all Title VIII violations here. I'm seeing token efforts by the Customs Immigration Enforcement. Or rather, Immigration Customs Enforcement. It looks like token efforts. Now the Pentagon is saying they've already run out of money trying to build 20 miles of wall. And I mean, during the 2018 midterm elections, we saw 3 districts in California go from red to blue. Now, when I was a kid, California was as Republican as you could get. It was solid Republican, solid red, but now they're flooding these districts with illegal immigrants to change the demographics and basically open them up, for a voting takeover.
Michael, yes, you're absolutely right. And let me tell you, I have friends that live in California. I have family all over Chicago, Illinois. I can tell you, a lot of these cities, they're hiring these illegals to get federal government jobs. They're working for the solid waste department, the water and sewers department. They're working on transportation. I mean, these people are coming here, not even here 2-3 years, and they're getting, I don't know if they're getting green cards, but they're actually hiring these people in these county governments to become federal workers.
I know there's one city out in California, I forget which one it is. There's actually an illegal immigrant on the city council. I mean, that's how out of control it is.
It's out of control. It really is. And I tell you, I call Trump. I'm telling you, people need to call the White House and start complaining. People should call the White House. And then again, Michael, these college campuses, they had a thing on Matt Drudge last night. 58% of all white American college kids are going to probably vote Democrat millennials this election, which is not good.
Okay, we're supposed to be on. There's the commercial break. Okay, Tom, we got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When your doctor tells you have bad cholesterol or blockages in the arteries, what do? When diet and exercise is not enough, we try medications and hope for the best. For the last 2 decades, I have been telling people about a natural method to help solve these problems and more. Extendovite can help maintain cardiovascular health and lower blood lipid levels in adults. The 7 herbs in Extendovite are known to work together synergistically to get the results we hope for. There are many testimonials on Extendovite's effect on circulatory-related ailments. Get Extendovite today to start your journey back to a healthier life. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or see us on amazon.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
Turn off the mute button. Aloha, welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones here to Chain in West Virginia. Aloha, Chain, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, Mike, I'm totally baffled here. Maybe you could straighten me out here. This is concerning Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
Now, when she was sick, months and months and months went by, not a peep. Everybody thought she probably shuffled off this mortal coil. Nothing was said. Then about a month ago, you heard news that she totally recuperated. She's healthy as an ox. Now, based on my own, and now all of a sudden she's sick again within just a matter of a couple of weeks. Now, based on my own personal experience with cancer, this doesn't jive. You don't recuperate 100%, and then a couple of weeks later, she's on her deathbed. There's something odd with this story, don't you think?
Well, obviously the liberals wanted to put out the story that she was perfectly healthy and functioning and doing her job at the Supreme Court in order to discourage Donald Trump from requesting that she step down in order to replace her. And I think that's what they're really afraid of, is that if Ruth Bader Ginsburg does pass, that Trump gets to name yet another conservative to the Supreme Court. And I think that's the reason for the timing of this latest accusation against Justice Kavanaugh, which just came out of thin air.
All right, so what you're saying is the talk of her recuperation and being healthy was all just a lie from the get-go.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me, because I can't understand. Like I said, based on my own personal experience, you don't totally recuperate, and then weeks later, you're on your deathbed. I mean, it takes a little bit longer, for cancer to reappear within just a matter of a couple of weeks. I was just curious, that's all, Mike. Okay, thank you now.
All right, thank you, Chance. We're going to let you go and switch over to Keith Rogers. Aloha, Keith. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I've got some on the economy here, but no disrespect to Tom down there, but one thing I do in all my research is study history, and in doing so, America in no way is the victim. And this is from years of covert wars down through Latin America. And this wasn't communism. Most of those countries down there are all Catholics and Protestants. This is just for changing that. And then they left their CIA death squads behind there to make sure there was no social reform. And those countries bought U.S. arms to continue their civil wars. It's the same thing over in the Middle East. If you Google an image of Raqqa, Syria, it looks like Dresden.
Yes.
And then they bitch about Syrians coming into America here,
Yes.
This is the plot that we've had to put up with all the time. And so, yes, when the UN report came out in 2016 that over 240-some million people had fled 3 countries, it omitted that the United States was bombing those countries.
Yes.
And this is the problem we're facing there. And the only way to do that is to shut this worthless government down. But anyway, you earlier said something about $50 billion injected in the market. Is that what you said?
It's something like that. I've got it in my talking points further down, but yeah.
Okay, well, it's 128 billion.
Okay.
Okay, and if you watch Gerald Celente's video from, I think, 3 days ago now, everywhere, India's car market has contracted 41%. They can't sell cars here, and they can't even sell used cars. This is what the actual distraction, and of course, with the way, unfortunately, the deep state works for corporations.
Keith, I got to put you on hold.
I was just going to, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on hold. Don't hang up. We'll be right back.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Sorry, Mike, I don't have any music. You're on the air.
Oh, we're on the air. Okay, no music. All right, fine. We're on the air. So, Keith Rogers, you were talking about the economy.
Amazon, they just pulled the health insurance of 2,500 workers, and that other Whole Foods, I think it was, is 1,500 workers they pulled the health insurance from. We have the strike starting up, which is actually good news because, what we're looking at right now historically is that in the Great Depression, it wasn't until the massive strikes, 4,000 or something like that, was going on across the country that the government finally started doing something. And the problem is all these wars have benefited corporations, and this is since that NSC 68 came out in 47. I mean, you can research the files and look at how they planted weapons down in Cuba that had Soviet markings on them. How down in the Bahamas for 11 years they had buried in 1954 weapons used for those expats of the CIA to go down into Cuba to be dug up later, and when it came to court, they threw the whole thing out because all they had to do was say that it involved national security. And the same thing with provoking Japan into a war, and then 67 cities firebombed, 50 in Germany. I mean, the reason that you saw so much resistance all through Asia and stuff is they wanted the imperialists out. And you can look at the direct quotes from all those people in Burma, even Africa, that they wanted the imperialists out. And that hurt to people here in America because of this nationalism stuff, this exceptionalism.
Yes.
That, yes, it's we're the superpower of the world and stuff like that. But it's upon the premise of that, like how much IG Farben and Chevron did to bring Hitler to power and stuff.
Yes.
We need to stop looking at ourselves as victims, and that's why when the news used that Pastor Wright's "Goddamn America" video, they only showed the first part of it. Go watch the second part. Where he talked about the oppression of the blacks, the Latinos, and stuff. And this is all a direct result of capitalism gone wrong. There's nothing wrong with capitalism. And that's why Naomi Klein, when she brings that out in her video Shock Doctrine, it talks about in depth how tens of thousands of people were killed to bring in or usher in these governments down in Chile and all down through, again, Latin America. And it hurts my feelings there because when people think that, well, it's those damn Hispanics or something like that, when your towns and stuff are totally devastated, there's no place to go. And so immigration is it. And of course, with the promise that America is great, they come here. They're risking to leave their families to come across a border to try to make something. And that's what used to piss people off, is because they would send their money back across the border and not spend it here.
They're still doing that.
Yeah.
It's a
but
huge
it's
financial
because they
drain.
have families to support. Yeah. But see, it was all caused by this crony capitalism. And like I say, there's nothing wrong with capitalism. When you look at Venezuela had a democratically elected socialist government.
Yes.
The people were happy with that, but like Dum Bolton said, it was for the oil and big U.S. corporations. They don't care about the people. And they wanted to put that Guido, whatever his name in there, who's been photographed all these drug smugglers and stuff like that. They wanted him in there to be just like the rest of these puppet governments to sell him out. And my biggest worry is if the U.S. gets involved with Yemen, they will turn this around and say, well, because Iran was involved in it, then they'll go after Yemen at the same time and finally take out that Yemen government, which they wanted to throughout their puppet leader.
Yes. I think the reason they're not going after Yemen right now, though, is because anybody looking at the attack on Saudi Arabia is going to say, of course, Yemen's going to shoot back at Saudi Arabia if they have the ability. And they don't want to emphasize Yemen's victimhood.
Yeah, well, you can Google this or whatever browser you use. U.S. Green Berets in Yemen. What are they doing down there? Are we at war with Yemen? You know, this has all been these CIA covert type wars there. To where, like Steve, when he called earlier there, when you laugh about cheating, lying, and stealing, thousands of people die behind this.
Yes.
And like when you look at the Business Insider of ISIS using those TOW missiles and stuff, where did ISIS get U.S. TOW missiles?
Yes,
and
indeed.
with uranium, with Hillary and this uranium, and you mentioned the 20%. Look at the Lakota Indians. And down there in the Navajo that have had their reservations stripped and poisoned water and stuff from all that uranium mining. See, we are not the victims. It's this corporate side of this country that we have to stop.
You know, there's a very good Val Kilmer movie called Thunderheart, which is loosely based on the events on the Lakota reservation. That saw, I'm blanking on his name, he just had a birthday, thrown in jail. And part of the storyline involves the fact that their water supply is being tainted by uranium exploration.
Yeah, and the Navajo had that EPA dam break down there, and it poisoned their river. Yeah.
Leonard Peltier, that was the name I was struggling for.
Yeah, Russell Means, see, I'm on a reservation up here in Montana, but Russell Means, he sat before the Senate there in front of that whack job John McCain there, and he talked about the disparity that they've done to the American Indians who actually worked with them in World War II and breaking the code and everything. So that,
he's one of the code talkers.
The code talkers, yeah. But when you listen to, they give them a reservation and a casino, and then they throttle them down. This is, to me, is like when you have a country that's got famine all over it and they're paying farmers not to plant.
Yeah.
It's greed.
Yes.
So, and you know me, I'm not into the politics. I study history because I missed out on a lot of my youth like that. But when I see what's going on in the world, I have to look at the other guys, like they say on the reservation here, never judge a man until you walked in a mile in his moccasins,
Yes.
And you have to realize, like when you hear Gore Vidal talk about how he used to write back and forth with Timothy McVeigh. McVeigh got pissed after serving in the Gulf War over there when he came back and saw what they did at Waco.
Yeah.
And see, it's what, look at Waco, white Christian gun owners.
Yes.
This is no different than the FBI framing those on the Lakota Indian Reservation there, where there's 2 FBI agents and that other Indian got shot, and they put these Indians in prison that weren't even involved in it. The rifles weren't right. They didn't have a scope of what they said. This is all these agencies that we have. Clear back into the plumbers of Nixon's day. Daniel Ellsberg does a great thing on talk on that, about how they set all these individuals up there. And like say, when someone comes forward like Edward Snowden and stuff, it's no different than when Philip Agee or when John Stockwell, ex-CIA, when they came forward, they go after the assets of their books so that they can't survive off them like that. And Snowden got away with it. I don't know how he did that, because he had his book printed here in the United States, I guess. He should have had it printed in Russia. But, the point is,
the Department of Justice is suing Snowden for the profits from the book.
Yeah. but they don't want their dirty secrets out, because once the Americans wake up to what's been going on in their names, they might rise up and say, "Hey, enough of this."
Uh-huh.
So anyway, that's all I want to share with you. But your listeners should watch Gerald Salente's video there. He goes into the depth about how bad the economy is contracting there, and I think everyone should get ready for it, because
yes,
whether or not they crash this economy or what like that, it's really going to get bad here. And remember, during the Great Depressions, the country here only had like 140 million, and now we got 330 million. And I think you'll see a Black Friday event across this country you'll never even be amazed at. And of course, no wonder they want your guns.
Yeah. Well, it's 330 million plus the illegal immigrants who are going to be mouths that need to be fed, and that's going to put a further strain on a deteriorating economy.
Yes. So I mean, but like I say, this has all been caused by these idiot capitalists that have crony capitalism. Like I say, there's nothing wrong with capitalism, but it's gone astray there to where they think they can go in there, they can strip mine some country, whether it's New Guinea or what like that, for the copper ore, whatever like that, you know. And they displace people, they poison their lands. Same thing down through Brazil, the poisoning of waters and stuff, or Bhopal, India, the massive chemical explosion over there. And people don't care because it's them. You know, it reminds me of watching 12 Angry Men, when Henry Fonda is listening to Ed Begley Sr. there, and he says, well, what do you want to believe her testimony for? She's one of them, too. You know, it's just they keep feeding Americans this racism stuff like that, you know?
Yes.
Anyway, that's all I got, Mike. Have a good day, okay? Best of Claire.
All right. Thanks an awful lot, Keith. Well, here is the situation, of course. In a healthy republic, government exists to balance the desires of corporations and the needs of the general public, welfare, including the rest of the world here. Unfortunately, as you slip into fascism and government authority aligns with the corporations against the general public, you're going to see these kind of abuses where corporations go on out and commit these atrocities because they know nothing will happen to them. They are as immune from prosecution or punishment as any high-ranking celebrity or politician. Now, every once in a while, somebody gets caught doing something really bad, and there'll be a lawsuit and there'll be a settlement, but nobody goes to jail because of the way corporate laws are written. The corporate executives are immune from prosecution. Okay, let's go back to the phones to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, to that previous caller, yeah, every institution of this country is rotted and corrupt. It's systemic, and you can't fix it. Unfixable, no matter what anybody says, you'll never fix it. It's a broken system. It's decaying day by day.
We just have to let it collapse.
Yeah, and Mike, on what Tom said from Florida, Tom, you're right on immigration, but there's nothing, like the Pentagon canceled, like you said, wall projects. Like there's nothing's being done. There's no, I say it every day I call in, there's no indictments coming. There's nothing, there's no infrastructure bill for what we see. There's no arrest. Tom, you like you say, why isn't Trump anybody arresting any of these mayors and governors? They're not gonna because it's the system, man. It's rotting, and it's just nothing's going to be done to fix the wall now, and it sucks. You know, I get so angry because with that Lewin, was it Corey? That was a show, man. Like that, nothing's going to be done. Come on, we keep seeing this crap every other week. Nothing's getting fixed. Nothing's being done. Nobody's getting arrested. Nothing's. Look at the financial crisis of 2008. Nothing's been fixed with that. We're back to 2008, but worse.
Has anybody seen an indictment yet against McCabe?
No.
It's been a week now since the IG report came out recommending indictment. No indictment yet. Now we're finding out that Horowitz actually recommended James Comey be prosecuted, and the Department of Justice declined to do so. I think that was back when Loretta Lynch was still. No, that would have been under. It's under William Barr.
Nobody's gonna. I mean, look at McCabe. That's off the headlines already, right? It's like a move on to something else. Like I said, nothing's gonna be fixed. You know, nobody's going to be arrested. The wall's never going to be. I mean, I'm sounding like a Debbie Downer, but hey, man, these are the facts. You got to look at your own eyes, not what Trump says, not any Republican or Democrat says. You look at with your own eyes what you see going on. You know, and
well, I'm not
and
saying
Mike,
anything go on, and that's the problem.
And Mike, I watched. You're going to talk about this with Powell. He said, "Oh, the global economy's slowing down, but we're okay." Basically, no, we're not okay. If you look at the numbers with your own eyes, like if you look at the manufacturing, we are in we're in a what do you call it? No, we're not expanding. We're contracting.
Yeah, we're in a contraction.
You know, and Mike, you know, with your previous mention, the previous caller mentioned the Great Depression. Hey, man, like you know what got us out of it? Wasn't it like the manufacturing we had? We don't have that to back us up now. Like
no, we don't.
You know, like because of the 330 million people, like you said, there's not enough to cover to get us out of it this time. Nope. You know, and I just don't. I don't know, Mike. And then like with the same with Tom, I got to go back to saying you don't care about what happens over there. But Tom, your government created the mess over there. Like,
yes,
your own people, because that's who they are here. Your own government officials have created the mess over there. And didn't Colin Powell said if you break it, you own it?
Well, I guess that's the theory they're operating on, that if they go on over and smash up a country, it becomes U.S. property.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, they're human beings over there. I care. I didn't cause the mess over there, but I don't say who cares what happens to them. But you caused the mess in Iraq. You caused it in Syria, in Libya, in Yemen. You're friends with the Saudis and the Israelis. What does that tell you? You know?
Yep.
It's who your friends are represents you, Mike. If you sit at a table with people like this, that's who you hang with.
Well, you know, a man is known by the company he keeps, and that's also true of nations.
Yeah, and I just want to, before I get off the phone, did you mention Trump naming this O'Brien? Do you know anything about him besides him saying we can win a nuclear war against the Soviet? Like, didn't he write a paper on that?
No. That was the interim national security advisor who said we can win a nuclear war with Russia. It's not this guy. I haven't been able to do much digging on O'Brien, but he so far strikes me as being a little more moderate than John Bolton was.
I hope so, but he's got to get rid of Pompeo, Gina Haspel, Elliot Abrams, as long as they're still there. And that's only the top echelon. There's other mid-level, lower level, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them, contractors, this or that. I look at it as impossible getting rid of all these people. It's just impossible to really drain the swamp as we thought we were going to get. But that's all I got to say, Mike. Have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. I still maintain this country is headed towards a Soviet Union-style collapse, and it could very well be economic, or the United States could get entangled in more wars, which they start to lose, like they're not winning in Afghanistan. That's why Trump wanted talks with the Taliban to exit gracefully and say, we didn't lose, we just retreated with dignity. Same thing in Syria, we're not really winning there. And they want to take on Iran. And that really is ridiculous. Now, here's a development that we need to pay attention to. Russia and Iran have formed a new alliance specifically to counter the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. And this poses a real risk because it means if the United States does go into Iran, we're running the risk of winding up in direct military conflict with Russia, which I think personally would be a bad thing. Of course, Russia has been saying they would support Iran all along, but apparently they have formalized it, and they now have the death camps. Over in Syria, I'm sorry, this is the article with the death camps. U.S.-backed militants are blocking the evacuation of a death camp in Syria. This is according to Russia. Russia's saying the United States and their allied militants are blocking the evacuation of a refugee camp in southern Syria where refugees are living in appalling conditions. And apparently the militants are refusing to ensure the safety of evacuation convoys. They're saying, you can bring the trucks in here, but we're not going to make any guarantees they won't get shot at. Okay, we got to take another break here for commercials, I think. And I'm going to wait for the music so we don't have dead air. There it goes. All right, we'll be right back.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right, all the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment.
And aloha, welcome back to our show here. And we're going to go back to the phones to Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Mike, you're really getting depressing now. I mean, it just doesn't seem to be hope for this country anymore. People think that Comey and now McCabe are going to be indicted. Fools. Because if you look at it, Barr, head of the Justice Department. He oversaw the Epstein thing. He wanted Epstein alive. He kept him alive, okay? Because the Justice Department is actually in charge of the Bureau of Prisons. On top of that, he could have also taken Epstein right away and put him in the custody of U.S. Marshals or maybe even military custody, and he could have hidden him somewhere until it's time to go to trial, okay? He didn't do that. He knew very well the guy's after the first time that the so-called suicide attempt, that definitely should have done it. Barr has no intention of keeping it, had no intention of keeping the man alive, because Barr is part of the sewer. I don't even call it a swamp. I call it the sewer. He's part of the sewer. He's been part of it since the Bush administration. Now I see this new guy that Trump appointed there for National Security Advisor, another Bushite. He was actually a protege of Condoleezza Rice. Just prettier, you could say bolt and drag. Okay, that's what Condoleezza Rice really is, a neocon with a nice smile. Other than that, it just goes on and on, Mike. It's and now this thing with Iran. I mean, this is very scary now. Trump is two steps away, or one step away, from starting a war with Iran, which is going to be a disaster. It's going to, at the least, and that's not very least, it's going to entail thousands of American casualties. God knows how many Iranian casualties. The destruction of a lot of the oil fields in the Middle East. At the worst, it's going to be all-out nuclear war with Russia, and probably the end of planet Earth as we know it. I mean, this is really serious stuff. And what are people talking about? They're talking about. I was watching. I was at the gym before. I was watching the fake news networks there. Talk about anything but the serious matters facing this country right now. Yeah. It just goes on and on. The media is totally compromised, and I personally believe the whole thing, the Epstein thing, takes so much into consideration, Mike, including very much our foreign policy. What you see going on right now with Iran, is actually directly related to Epstein, because I would say probably half the Congress in this country right now, and half the government officials, and a lot of the corporate officials have been blackmailed. They're probably pedophiles. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why nobody does anything or says anything. And on top of that, they're going to let Trump do basically what he wants. They'll call him out on this Russian nonsense. They're still talking about this silly, Russian interference in our election BS, but they won't talk about the real country that interferes with us, and that's Israel. Saudi Arabia to a degree also, but and the only one calling them out on this is Tulsi Gabbard, and they're doing everything they can to stifle her, wouldn't let her into debates. And, though I do have a little bit of hope there, because despite what they're trying to do, she seems to be getting through. I see that I'm not on Twitter anymore because they kicked me off, but I still can get Twitter. I just can't tweet. And I see that Mark Levin made a really nasty tweet about her, what she said about Trump being basically Saudi Arabia's bitch, and she and I noticed Levin was very angry about that, and that gives me some hope, because that means they're scared. The neocons, the warmongers are really scared of this woman. The Ziocons, the whole bunch, they're really scared of this woman, and then maybe there's still a hope, because a lot of people now. I was driving through South Carolina recently. I go to Charlotte quite a bit because my family lives down there. And there's a lot of signs right on the highways, right on Interstate 85 and Interstate 26. Big picture of Tulsi. So, maybe we got a chance there, Mike. Other than that, I'm afraid this country's done. I really do. I'm afraid,
I think this country is finished. It's just looking for a place to fall down.
The fact that they lowered the interest rates again today, which is a really stupid thing to do, but the only reason they're doing that that didn't even seem to work. From the last I looked, the stock market was falling, and that means people are just saying, you know what, they must really be desperate. If the economy is this good, why would they be lowering the interest rates? Even these jerks at Wall Street are probably asking themselves that. So,
well, actually, the stock markets have just taken an upward leap, so it appears to have had some kind of an effect.
Yeah, well, you got all
Anyway,
these gamblers.
okay, Mark. Okay, there's the music. We're going to have to let you go. We got to do a commercial break. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus magful clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
I was mentioning about immigration, illegal immigration, and about, the fascistic ways that things are done, like overthrowing a country, putting in a puppet ruler.
Yeah.
Didn't go really kind of far enough. Like, let's just take a company like Del Monte.
Yeah.
You know all about them. So the idea, I suppose, is to try and extract the wealth of the country as cheap as possible. But
yes,
what it really is extracting the labor at as low as possible a wage to try to hide the rampant inflation. And it's rampant, Mike. Gold was $35 an ounce in 1971 when Nixon closed the window. Minimum wage was $1.10. Gold is now just over $1,500 an ounce. Minimum wage should be $60 an hour. And of course, that would crash. No, it isn't. And you can't just do that because it would crash everything. This is how we've gone so far away from reality in the last 50 years. There's probably close to 35, 40 million illegal immigrants in the United States. They're everywhere. And they are suppressing wages. They're in the food industry. They're in the construction industry. They're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere, and they make nothing. They don't pay taxes. They work under the table. It happens up here in Canada as well. I see it all the time. You go to Leamington, which is the tomato capital of Canada, and it's like little Tijuana. And I'm not blaming the people that do this. I'm blaming the governments and the bankers, but more importantly, the people that are actually calling the shots, which are those rich folk that really don't care about anybody. It's like you said, greed. They are greedy,
it's a
rotten
sickness.
people. They're horrible. Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's beyond sickness.
No matter how much money they get, it's never enough because money is an addiction. That's why we call them money junkies.
Yep. And they can't even see it. They don't even realize what they've done to this world, and especially the West. Like the top 1-2%, inflation hasn't touched them whatsoever. It's all the people making, about $100,000 and lower.
Yes.
Especially lower.
Yes.
That's where it really bites and it hurts. So, I don't know what their end game is. I mean, I'm going to guess and say a one world government run by people that aren't elected, and then they figure they can do whatever they want.
Yes.
But who wants to live like that?
Well, I certainly don't, and that's why, I think the best thing that could happen for the American people, and indeed for the world as a whole, is a Soviet Union-style collapse of the United States government, triggered either by an economic crash or our actually losing one of these wars.
Yep. But when that happens, if the United States crashes, the whole West is going to crash along with them, because our economies are so intertwined with the SWIFT, and the U.S. dollar and all of it, and it's a farce. The last recession, Ron Paul was talking about, the Federal Reserve just created like $20 trillion. It was up to $20 trillion and gave it out.
Yes.
That's over 25% of the world economy.
Yes.
It's insane. So it makes sense that inflation
it's out of control.
Rampant.
It's incredibly out of control.
They've lost control.
Well, they're using the military spending as a cash sink, and that's how they're able to hide the inflationary pressures, because much of that money that's coming on out is going directly into the military-industrial complex.
Yep, and they can't account for it. There's like $20 trillion that the Pentagon can't account for.
Yes.
What was it? A couple of days before 9/11, it was like $2 trillion, 2.3 or something like that. I mean, this is just this has gone beyond. Like Dustin, I love when Dustin calls because he's at the point now where he can see it. He can see it all.
Yeah.
And it's all coming down. It's all falling apart. It's all falling apart. All the pieces are perfectly aligned. And all they're trying to do, they're just trying to play catch up and and they're getting nowhere. There's no traction. For the wars, there's no traction. You read some of the comment sections. People don't believe this stuff.
No, they don't.
We already know. Yeah, we already know. Well, when I was talking to you on Monday, I mentioned, the damage at that refinery wasn't that great. They're going to be up and running in a few days.
Yes.
So it was an absolute false flag inside job. Absolutely.
Well, that would certainly explain how those weapons were able to get by all those U.S. defenses.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. How did this happen? And, Putin's laughing. Well, maybe you should have bought, the S-300 or the S-400.
Yes.
No, they don't want that. They want these false flags. They want all this stuff to continue to happen. Is her name Kamala Harris?
Yes.
That lady?
Yeah.
She's related to what, Jussie Smollett?
Yes.
He got off.
Yes.
Look at what's going on with that college scandal down in your country, and it's not just yours, but these rich folk, they just get a slap on the wrist. That lady, that Laughrin chick, she got what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah, 14 days in prison.
That's disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting. And her husband, and it's too bad because I was a fan of William H. Macy, but you know what? They're a bunch of crooks. That's all they are. They're just a bunch of crooks. Me. All of Hollywood. It's just one big make-believe cesspool of the most derogatory thoughts and deviant behavior than anyone could possibly imagine. It's been going on for almost 100 years now. And these are the people that are running the world. These I was almost going to swear. These sick people.
Yes.
It's just disgusting. Anyway, I got to let you go because I think I just got myself upset, Mike. I'm sorry. You have a good show. I'm going to continue listening.
It
Thank
can
you.
happen. It gets hard to do this show a lot of times because
I can imagine.
It's not just the show, of course, it's the prep for it and just looking through all of this constantly bad news and trying to find something positive that's happening in the world, and it's just getting harder and harder. Anyway, Al, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go and switch over to Stuart in Florida. Aloha, Stuart. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Stuart, are you there? There you are.
You got me now?
You're on the air.
Okay.
You're on the
super.
air.
All right. Yeah. I had a couple of points. The first one is stop the hand wrenching about the voting, because the voting is not going to get you anywhere. It's over with then. What you have to do is, hopefully you're in a decent area, get to know your neighbors, know who you can trust, and build up a local or regional network of people who can maybe occasionally meet, depending, as situation develops, so you can discuss how you're gonna meet the coming eventualities. Okay, and that's the answer. You don't do anything illegal. You just get to know people you can know and trust. Okay, and that's the solution. It reminds me of a concept that Leon Trotsky had, of all people, what they called dual power. Okay, it's where you challenge the local authority, the national authority, and as they weaken from the economy, they will weaken. I would guess, and you can become stronger and take more and more administrative control of your area, because it will be clear that these people don't have your interest in mind, and in fact they're criminals. Yeah. Okay, next point. Someone said there's nothing wrong with capitalism. Well, I strongly disagree. Not that I'm a socialist, but capitalism is capital running wild. The only thing that matters is the bottom line. And what happens is it leads to oligarchy. And that's what we have now. And they use democracy.
Again, the reason we're here is, again, because the federal government, which is supposed to be an umpire between the greed of the corporations and the needs of the general public, has abandoned that role. They used to be right in the center there saying, okay, you corporations, you got to behave yourself. You got to have a decent minimum wage. You got to take care of your workers. the federal government has just slid on over and cozied up to the economic interests, and that's classic fascism.
Well, I'll get to the fascism in a second. The thing is, because I say it's precisely because of this mantra of small government, which is a 19th century concept, that has led us to the point where the government wasn't strong enough to resist the oligarchy. And so the oligarchy just took control of it. And we've had the bankers controlling the country for 100 years, and I don't know what more proof that anyone needs that the small government concept is an anachronism.
Yes.
And that's why I, for one, consider myself a fascist. And when you talk about fascism being a government and the corporations working together, no, I say, as I just mentioned, that it's the corporations that control the government now, and
Yes.
and that's the problem. Fascism was the answer to international capital, big banks, multinational corporations getting control of the state. And the only way you're going to get control of the state is by a strong government, okay?
Yes.
And I think we've seen the success, based on a certain outlook of protecting national identity and not subordinating the country to the economy, but subordinating the economy to the national interest, while at the same time preserving private property, okay? And this has been proven to be effective. We saw the
This is
positive
what we used to
results
have.
Well, maybe for a while, but it's been probably 100 years that the corporations have taken control, okay? And we saw the positive effects in Nazi Germany, okay? Forget about all the nonsense. All you know about Nazi Germany is Hollywood stuff, for the most part, okay? And we saw the positive effects in Italy under Mussolini.
Yes.
And another little known variant of that, a lot of people don't know, is what happened in Portugal with Salazar. Okay, he ruled for 40 years, and it was a pretty healthy economy. Unfortunately, we're in a much worse position because under those regimes, you still had patriotic elements in the rulership. Okay, Hindenburg appointed Hitler. Hitler didn't gain a majority; he had about a third. They were the biggest power. Then you had Mussolini was appointed. Mussolini was appointed by a king. Okay. And they managed to organize things effectively and improve the situation. Salazar, the same thing. It was actually a bloodless military coup. So we're not in that situation. We're in a worse situation, which is why, going back to what I said in the beginning, you really need to network and organize with people, monitor the situation, and have constant discussions as to how are you going to react to a situation, and hopefully maybe even put out a local newsletter so everybody knows what's going on. Because for voting, it's over. It's over. So anyway, those are my thoughts, and I've been wanting to say that for a long time. So thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, Stuart, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to let you go. You paint a very rosy picture about what happened in Portugal and Germany and Italy, and there is absolutely no question when the Nazis came to power in Germany, they kicked out the private central bank. They issued a value-based currency. Germany's economy lit up. It was called the German miracle. Over in Italy, initially, yes, but it didn't last, and that's why the Italian people killed Mussolini. All right, let's go back to the phones here to Mike in Brazil. And Mike, I may have to take you through this next commercial break. What's on your mind?
Oh, hi, Mike. How's the car running?
The car's running just fine. There was no damage. The only thing wrong was there had been a flash drive full of MP3 music, which has gone walkabout. And maybe it's just underneath the car seat or something, or somebody did help themselves to the music chip.
but it's drivable, right?
Oh, yes, it's drivable. I'm going to have to put some all-weather tires on it because the tires that are on there are Hawaii tires, and we're coming up on the winter weather, so it's completely inappropriate.
Yeah, you might need to buy chains.
I'm
tire
probably
chains
going to
for
get
the,
chains. I'm probably going to get chains. And of course, the good news is, Claire and I don't drive that much. Actually, we're driving a lot more. Gas prices here are great, but it's offset by the fact that you have to drive very long distances to get to anything from where we are. I mean, there's a little tiny.
Yeah, because Mike, you live in a rural area.
Yes.
Sure, it's natural. You have to drive long distances to get anywhere.
Yes.
It's just like myself. I have to drive the equivalent of about 60 miles just to get to the nearest supermarket because, like I told you, I bought a piece of property in the Amazon, and the only thing we have here is a small village, a couple of cell phone towers, and that's about it. We don't have any bars. We don't have any restaurants. So if I want to go and have a night out, I have to drive about 60 miles to go to the nearest city. So,
Well,
but anyway,
to be fair, there is a little shopping center just a couple of miles from here, and there's a grocery market. There's what they call the Dollar General store, which is kind of again, it's a general. They've got things like cigarette lighters and so forth. There's a liquor store. There's the post office, the bank, Santa's Toys. But for things like Walmart or CVS Pharmacy, it's a long drive. Anyway, listen, Mike, stay on the line. We've got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be back once the music starts. There it is. All right, we'll be right back.
All right.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hi, this is Matt Ray for MySleepAllNight.com. And most of us don't even realize that almost all of the healing, learning, and rejuvenating that happens in our body happens only when we are deeply asleep. Now, if you have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, it's likely you never consistently achieve that crucial level of deep sleep. Deep restorative sleep is the key to health, mood, productivity, longevity, memory, you name it. So many health benefits. To experience what deep sleep feels like, try the new dietary supplement Sleep All Night, formulated by scientist Kurt Hendricks. And sleep like your life depends on it because, let's be honest, it does. Head on over to MySleepAllNight.com. That's MySleepAllNight.com. Enter the promo code RADIO for 20% off your purchase. Again, Head on over to mysleepallnight.com, enter the promo code radio. That's mysleepallnight.com.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Mike in Brazil. We're talking about living in a rural environment, which, you know, let's be honest, if something really bad does happen, we're going to be the last to know about it because, you know, wars go to the urban centers, the big cities, the military bases, none of which we have around here.
Yeah, Mike, you're right about that. My worst fear is that if something happens, right, you have a medical emergency, the nearest hospital here where I live is about 120 miles away from here. The person dies before reaching the hospital. Okay, we don't have any clinics here. We don't even have first aid. So we have to be very proficient in administering first aid, which I'm very qualified. I used to work as a paramedic in the United States, so I'm very good at it. But something happens that it exceeds my qualifications. The person dies. I mean, it's 120 miles for Christ's sake. It's a long distance to drive, and the roads are not paved like in the United States. They're dirt roads. I live in the Amazon, in the jungle, basically. That's what it is. It's all red Martian-type soil. Everywhere you look, it's red soil. And anyway, what I was going to say is that today I'm the proud owner of a SIG 357 caliber pistol that I had to pass sight test. You know, I had to see a shrink before I got the license to purchase it. But the good thing is that now you can buy it legally. Before that, you had to go to Paraguay to buy the same thing for double the price. I bought it for, I think the equivalent would be about $300 and maybe $80, maybe $400. A brand new SIG 357 caliber, okay, which I don't know how much it goes for in the United States, but here it's considered very expensive. And I passed through a bunch of tests anyway, and now I got my concealed carry permit because my wife works with a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of reais, okay, because she deals with petroleum. She's a wholesaler of petroleum products, and sometimes people make payments in cash, so I have to go with her and, watch her, be like virtually like a bodyguard for her. And this is the reason why I got the concealed carry permit, because I explained to the police, the federal police, listen, my wife, she's carrying a lot of cash with her. Sometimes they don't deposit it directly into the account, so she has to go there and get the cash physically. And then we all know that Brazil is crime-ridden. And I got the concealed carry permit, and now I have to go through 2 more courses for proficiency. They want to make sure that I don't shoot the wrong guy. So anyway, but my second point was you were talking about turning your Windows 10 into a Linux box. What distro do you have in mind?
I haven't picked one out yet, but I'm tired of all these Windows updates that cause more problems than they solve. I'm just glad that the latest update didn't knock out my audio because that would certainly be inconvenient for the radio show. But at this point, I'm not going to install any more updates until Microsoft gets its act together. Anyway, listen, Mike, we're going to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification. We'll be back with another phone call after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to go back to the phones to Chris in Clearwater. Aloha, Chris. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
The caller who is a self-described fascist and
Yes.
is anti-capitalist, he should be glad to know that because of the Federal Reserve being private, control of currency and most of the credit, whenever you take out a loan through a bank, it's a Federal Reserve member bank, whether it's a student loan or a car loan or a mortgage for a house or things like that.
Yeah.
So they issue the credit for that. And what could be more fascist than that? I hope he's glad to know we are fascist already. Capitalism, I would say, is the fall guy that folks would like to point the blame at, when actually we are fascists. I think that'd be a great cause for Antifa to take up, that they should be asked to agree with us on. And capitalism by definition is an economic system characterized by private ownership. So if this fascist fellow would like to give up his right to private property, I'd be glad to take it.
Okay, so would I.
That's all capitalism is. It's the right to private ownership. And anyhow, but you know me, I've called in the past and suggested other solutions. But first, I wanted to, before I review those quickly. Have you heard of the solar coin that you've talked? It sounds like it's the Electro that you proposed, a currency that's based on electricity. Have you heard of a solar coin?
No, I hadn't, but it does sound like the Electro.
Yeah, Electro, just with an L, starting with an L.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, that's what I thought when I came across it last week. Solarcoin.org is their site, but it seems to be down right now, or it is down for me anyhow. Solarcoin.org, but it's a cryptocurrency that was begun in January 2014. So it looks like it's supposed to incentivize the use of solar power when you feed electricity back into the grid. Apparently, I really haven't had much time to review it or ask other solar power proponents who are much more active than I am in that area to see what they think about it. But I'll get back to you on that. But I've always suggested community currencies. I think are the best because they're tangible. Yeah. You can hand them from one person to another. And unlike cryptocurrencies or time banks, which do have their advantages in certain ways, and they are more dynamic in certain ways. I feel like if you don't own it, if you don't have possession of it, you don't own it. So that's why I think community currencies are the best. And then followed by time banks, barter networks, cooperatives, swap shops. And with these, we can defeat usury. We can increase the standard of living to allow civic involvement, to encourage patient conversation, to trend towards a gifting society that I believe we can achieve. Until that's the norm, we need to decentralize commerce, communication, agriculture, and energy, because those are the keys to security, sustainability, variety, and freedom. And, you've mentioned, Michael, that national currency should be handled as a public utility for the benefit of all. But as we've seen across this country, that governments cannot be trusted to operate public utilities even. If they could, I wouldn't be drinking purified water. So we need to take these matters into our own hands, because, we need to grease the skids basically with other forms of currencies. Then folks would be more likely to pay attention to what's going on, to talk to each other, get involved, whether it's with government or in their own neighborhood. Folks, too many folks are just treading water. Even rich folks just want to hold on to their standard of living, and they're afraid of giving up anything. So, we need to grease the skids a little bit, give everyone a little bit of breathing room in those solutions I mentioned. So, anyhow, that's all I've got for you, and I'd like to see if that caller would like to call back and respond sometime.
Okay, well, Chris, thank you very much for the phone call. You raised a couple of good points. It does sound like the solar coin is very similar to the electro idea I proposed a while back. I didn't link that specifically to solar power, but I figure for any currency to have a stable base, it's got to be linked to a physical commodity. Now, at the end of World War II, the US dollar was linked to gold at $35 an ounce up until 1971, when Richard Nixon responded to a request from France to turn in their huge supply of Federal Reserve notes for the gold equivalent. And Nixon took a look in Fort Knox and realized they didn't have the gold to cover all those notes. And so he closed the gold window. It was called the Nixon shock. And in order to prop up global demand for the US dollars, they came up with that petrodollar deal, where they went to the Middle Eastern oil nations and they said, if you will sell your oil only for the US dollar and invest it in the US, we will protect your borders, which obviously, as of this last weekend, the Saudis know the United States can't do that.
Well, I used to believe in having the currency based on a commodity, but I think that the greatest commodity is non-tangible, which is human productivity, or electricity is another way of having a non-tangible commodity-based currency. But
well, that's what the
human
Nazis
productivity
did. That's what the Nazis did when they issued their new currency for Germany after kicking out the private central bank. They didn't have a commodity basis for it, but the currency was redeemable for a unit of labor.
Oh, that's the German miracle, right?
Yes.
Well, because human productivity is virtually unlimited, it's limited only by time and increases in technology. The supply of a currency shouldn't be limited by any one commodity or even basket of commodities, unless we restrict our productivity or our beautiful potential creativity by saying, well, we've mined so much gold, so we can't increase our productivity. Or that would be like saying a home builder saying, well, today, because a dollar is a unit of measurement, it's not an actual commodity; it's a unit of measurement of value. It'd be like saying,
it's a measurement
home
of debt.
builder. Well, currently, yeah, these days it is. But the Fowler mines from Germany in the 16th century. You talked about that before.
Yes.
The origin of the dollar is based on silver. But it'd be like a home builder saying, well, okay, we can't finish your house today because we've run out of inches. We don't have enough inches today, so I'm sorry. Well, we're gonna have to call it quits. That's why I think that our currency should be based more on, we should diversify in our currencies that we use, in the solutions I offered, and have them based mostly on productivity.
Well, I guess we agree to disagree on that one. So anyway, Chris, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are now completely open. 800-313-9443. And we're going to get back to the news here. Now, apparently the Trump administration is taking steps to create a NATO corridor in the Mediterranean centered around Greece. And apparently the United States ambassador to Greece, Jeffrey R. Pyatt, announced that the United States intends to acquire the strategic port of Alexandroupolis. If Athens accepts the proposal, the country would be contributing to a political escalation. And so the U.S. is attempting to push Greece, a traditional rival to Turkey, closer to them at a time when Ankara continues to defy NATO by strengthening its relations with Russia. Everybody's changing partners. Kind of reminds me about how prior to one of the big wars, the League of Nations fell apart. All right. Over in Palestine, recent developments there, including the announcement of impending annexations, are putting a strain on Turkey-Israel relations. There are mixed reactions in Turkey and Israel, and it's back to the level of tension prevalent in the wake of Israel's attack on the Mavi Marmara flotilla back in 2010. Now, as far as the Israeli elections, Benjamin Netanyahu has come up one seat short. Doesn't have a majority. Benny Gantz does. Netanyahu's refusing to concede, and he's hoping to basically form a coalition with some of the other parties who won a few seats to try and retain his job as prime minister, because otherwise he's going to be going to court over his corruption charges. Now, of course, it doesn't matter who really wins the Israeli vote. The Palestinians are still going to lose. All righty, we talked about this before, but I'm going to come on back to it. This is the domestic politics section of the show. And over at The View, the host slammed New York Slimes reporters Robin Pogrebin and Kate Kelly for reporting on this unverified accusation against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh that excluded the extremely important detail that the alleged victim does not remember the supposed incident. And all the people who were at the party said it didn't happen. Well, if she doesn't remember being assaulted and nobody at the party remembers an assault taking place, where did this allegation originate? Where did it come from? And of course, a really important question here is why did they leave out the part about how she didn't remember the assault? Of course, they put it back in, and now the reporters are blaming the Times editors, saying, well, they took out this sentence because it included the name of the victim and they wanted to hide that. Well, you could have done a rewrite of the line that omitted the name and left in that crucial point that she doesn't remember being assaulted. And one of these two reporters, when they were doing the rounds on TV, was out there saying, well, everybody was really, really drunk at this party. And so that explains why she doesn't remember the assault. So they're pushing the idea the assault did happen, but she was too drunk to remember it. And again, that's logically flawed. If she doesn't remember being assaulted, if nobody at the party remembers an assault taking place, where did this allegation come from? And again, I think they're going after Kavanaugh again because Ruth Bader Ginsburg's health is not good. And the liberals are just concerned that Trump is going to get a chance to appoint another conservative justice to the Supreme Court. Try and bring in a little more common sense here. As one of the callers mentioned, Donald Trump has named Robert O'Brien, who is the special envoy for hostage affairs, to be the new national security advisor. Now, this does not require confirmation by the Congress. And Trump tweeted on out that he was going to name Robert C. O'Brien as the new national security advisor. And he will do a great job. Of course, everybody that Trump hires, he tweets out, this person will do a great job. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Joe Biden, once again, has suffered a bad case of hoof and mouth disease. He was out there talking about how his economic plan would put 720 million women to work. Now, that's a real trick when you consider that the population of the United States is 330 million, both men and women, not counting the illegal immigrants, which numbers somewhere around 26 million here. This next story was a little bit upsetting. Apparently, British bookmakers are betting that Hillary Clinton will be the 2020 Democratic nominee, that she will basically step on in to save the Democratic Party because their current crop of candidates, except for Tulsi Gabbard, they're self-destructing. Biden is self-destructing. He's still in the lead in the polls along with Pocahontas, but it's really not looking very, very good. So I'm still concerned that Hillary may come in for another run at the White House, and that would prompt me to say things that would get the license for this radio station pulled by the FCC, so I won't say them. And Hillary is still out there making excuses about why she lost in 2016, and she's out there saying she lost Wisconsin and Michigan to Trump because millions of voters were purged from the polls. So she's out there playing the blame game here. The fact is, she wasn't a likable candidate. And she's carrying a lot of baggage from the Clinton scandals. And I really do hope that she does not run next year, because they've got enough illegal immigrants to vote for her. And it's estimated 3 million illegal immigrants did vote for her in 2016. Now they've got 26, 27 million ready to vote for her. All right, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is taking time off from his vaccine research. He claims to know who really killed his father, Robert Kennedy. And he's now out to prove it. And he's basically saying that compelling evidence exists that Robert Kennedy was killed by former Lockheed aircraft employee and alleged former CIA operative Thane Eugene Cesar. Now, what's really interesting about this story, this guy was working at Lockheed Aircraft, and then something like a week before the California primary, he gets hired as a security guard at the Ambassador Hotel. And then shortly after the assassination, he left again. So Robert Kennedy Jr. has published on his Instagram account that Robert Kennedy's family remains doubtful over the official explanation regarding Sirhan Sirhan. So, Robert, wear your Kevlar, stay out of small suburban Washington, D.C. parks, stay out of small airplanes here. All right, we mentioned this a little earlier in the show, but the Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz has revealed he referred James Comey for criminal prosecution. He wanted him indicted, and the Justice Department ultimately declined prosecution. And Comey, of course, was bragging about it. And, you know, I'm obviously innocent if the Department of Justice isn't going to prosecute me. But Horowitz is convinced he engaged in criminal actions. Another story, this one is starting out saying that Andrew McCabe looks like he's going to be charged for his role in the Trump-Russia hoax to try and remove a duly elected president from office. I would like to see that, but I'm starting to think it's not going to happen. The IG's final report came out a week ago. We're still not hearing anything from the Department of Justice. Maybe they're waiting for the war with Iran to really fan on up as a distraction. Yes, we're bombing Iran. There's blood, death, grief. And oh, by the way, McCabe took a walk. But part of the story is that Obama ordered the FBI and CIA to spy on Trump. And this is one of the most outrageous things any president has ever done. Now, getting back to Jeff Epstein, prior to his supposed death by suicide, and personally, I think Epstein is still alive, he was beaten up and assaulted in his jail cell. And he was supposedly assaulted by this former cop who's in jail in 4 drug-related killings. And he's being put into solitary confinement, supposedly for his own protection, which is nonsense. They just don't want him talking to anybody about what happened. All righty. And we should be hearing music for another commercial break. There it is. We'll be right back after these few words.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Daniel in British Columbia.
Okay.
We're talking about
We're still playing
the Jeff
replay.
Epstein
Mike, pull
case,
down the volume.
Scandal.
Mike, pull down the volume.
Gambit, whatever you want to call it.
Mike, pull down the volume.
Daniel, just sort of pick up where you left off.
Mike, pull down the volume.
So this facility here,
they just had El Chapo in there. It's some of the most high-profile federal inmates you could possibly have, and they haven't had a successful suicide in 21 years. Just kind of just add that to the mix. And I think the focus should be on this Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, Ghislaine. She was a recruiter for these girls. She actually groomed some of the girls in sex techniques, according to Vanity Fair.
Yes.
So if I were her, I'd avoid small aircraft. And another thing was the FBI has raided some of the buildings on the island, on Lolita Island. And to me, it seems like they're going there to hide evidence, not to find it.
I think somebody got there. Somebody got there before they did. There was this YouTube video showing that at least one room that was obviously an office full of computer gear, that was completely emptied out before the FBI even showed up.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just think the focus. I mean, she still has.
Okay, there we go. All right, we got our live microphone back here, and the playback is now gone. So we're going to go back to the phones here to Kevin in West Virginia. Aloha, Kevin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mr. Mike, can you hear me?
I hear you just fine.
Well, okay, you were talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg a little bit ago, I guess, on the last segment. I wanted to call in and tell you that I have a friend who runs security detail for her. And I know for a fact that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is not stepping down anytime soon, that she's planning on, living her life out as a Supreme Court justice, and she's not planning on stepping down at all. I mean, that's according to my friend who like I said, runs security detail, is one of the people that is around her and takes her from, I guess, to the hotel to her the medical facility that she has to go to. The second thing I wanted to mention, I think you're going to see next year or this year, whenever the Democratic convention is, I think you're going to see a brokered convention like in the 1970s.
Yes.
And I think you're right. I think you're right with this. I think it's going to be a brokered convention. And I think Hillary, like you said, is going to try to ride in on a white horse. I don't know if it's necessarily her or my other thought is Michelle Obama, but, I don't know. But I do think you're going to see, it's going to get crazy. And I do think it's going to be a brokered convention. I mean, any of these candidates, none of them are electable or likable from the Democratic side. But one thing that does scare me, though, and one thing that, I don't know if it keeps me up at night and I really worry about it, but in 2024, whenever these Democrats could possibly get back into power, I mean, they're already calling for Trump supporters and right-wing and gun owners and Christians to be thrown in these death camps. I'm a little worried for them to get in power. I think they're going to wreck civilization when they get back into power.
Yeah, they very well might. I mean, the people that we're staying with here have Amazon Prime, and they introduced me to this TV series called Wayward Pines. And as the story unfolds, the first thing that occurred to me was this is a liberal's idea of paradise, where everything is just strictly controlled. And, if you step out of line, you get killed. And I mean, the country's definitely headed toward a dictatorship. And it's not just the liberals. We're seeing a lot of the Republicans are saying, we need stronger controls. We need this. And I'm sure the government as a whole is very concerned that if there is a major economic downturn, that the American people are going to start rioting in the streets. And because they haven't succeeded in confiscating all the guns, that it's going to be very problematic to send the military in to quell the protests.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that. I mean, this, like everything, to me, it's up in the air. And I'm concerned. I'm really concerned, not for really 2020, but like I said, 2024, when these people, and I know they're going to get back in power, they will never let somebody like Donald Trump or somebody that's quote unquote not part of the good old boys club, get into power again, or get into office again. And that's, that's a shame in my book, because I thought in this country, it doesn't matter, if you have money or not, that anybody could become president. That's what I thought.
That was certainly the myth that we were raised with in elementary school. Anybody can be president, but not anybody should be. And we've had some stunningly bad presidents, including the current one. And there almost needs to be a competency test, for being the president. And there certainly need to be more checks and balances. Congress needs to take back the authority to declare when and where we go to war. They need to repeal that authorization for the use of military force. That was an abomination. It's about as unconstitutional as you can get. So,
I would like to see them repeal the Patriot Act. I would like to see them do away with that in NDAA.
Yeah.
But
all right, well,
that's all I wanted to tell you. You have a great day, sir.
Okay. All right, thanks an awful lot, Kevin. We got to take another break for commercials. We got another caller waiting on the line. We'll be right back.
Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're going to go back to the phones to Ron in the Bronx. Aloha, Ron. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Who's your daddy?
Aloha, Mike.
Yeah. Aloha.
All right, so I wanted to get into about yesterday was the anniversary of when the Red Army rolled into Poland, and of course the Allies didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's because it kind of it lends credence to the whole the story we're told about Hitler is just not true. Just I need to know what's your take on it.
Well,
and why nothing was
think,
done. I mean,
I think nothing was done because the U.S. at that time did not want to go head to head with the Red Army because they were very strong, they were very powerful. They also had nuclear weapons, and it was probably considered a bad idea. And somebody looked and said, "What does Poland actually have that's worth fighting over?" And so that's why they backed off on it. As far as the stories about Hitler and Mussolini and the rest of it, we should know by now, after all the times we've been lied to during our lifetimes, that probably most of history, as we are taught it, is also a complete fiction. And I have a saying that history is a joke played by the victors on the vanquished in front of an audience too scared to laugh.
Yeah, exactly. I have one other question as far as the Houthis is concerned and taking credit for that attack. Now, what if if that's a false flag where they where they infiltrated some of the Houthis, the CIA or Mossad, and provided them the logistics to carry out such an attack to give the reason to go ahead with the war on Iran. And of course, with the Saudis getting their $80 a barrel for oil, it's like a win-win.
Well, we have to look at who benefits from that. Apparently, somebody in the Houthi military came on out and said that they did have assistance from somebody inside Saudi Arabia. They're not saying who, obviously, but again, my point of view is if the Houthis did not, in fact, carry out this attack, why take credit for it, knowing it's only going to stimulate reprisals from Saudi Arabia, which aren't happening? Everybody's turned on Iran instead and said, Iran is to blame, ultimately.
Right. So let's say the Mossad gets somebody to, infiltrate the Houthis and carry out the attack, and the Houthis would have no clue really that they were infiltrated and they were and they made the attack happen. That's why the Houthis are taking responsibility for it. But meanwhile, they're basically some, I want to say useful idiots, but they helped.
Well, the Houthis are clearly very proud of the attack, and they're already saying there are more on the way.
Right. Okay. All right, Mike. Hey, Mike, do you ever follow Jake Morpheus on Twitter? He has some good stuff.
No, I don't hang out on Twitter an awful lot anymore since they started filtering. Okay,
the Invisible Critic on YouTube has some good stuff too. All right, Mike, thanks. Always a pleasure.
All right, thanks an awful lot, Ron. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Up in Canada, something a little embarrassing. Canada has arrested the former Director General of the RCMP's National Intelligence Coordination Center, one of the country's top intelligence officials. Canada won't say what he did that led to the arrest. And that has allowed some suspicions he was somehow in league with Russian criminals who laundered money through Canada banks. And because of this, it's putting a strain on the so-called Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, and Canada could find itself being kicked out. So, all righty. We already talked about this earlier in the economic news, that the Fed may announce launch of quantitative easing in just a few hours, and we know they've already lowered interest rates, which stimulated the stock market. And again, they don't want to call it quantitative easing because of the negative connotations that carries, but it basically amounts to the same thing, which is pouring money all over the banks and all over the stock brokerages so they can keep the stock market pumped up. And early today, I did take a look here. And yeah, the stock market ended just barely in the green for the Dow and the S&P, and just barely in the red for the NASDAQ. So apparently it did have some effect. But again, how much longer can they do this? How often can they do it? All right, as you know, the United Auto Workers are out on strike nationwide against General Motors, and it may have backfired on them dramatically because now General Motors is talking about leaving the U.S. entirely because the workers are demanding too much money. And of course, it could also just be a scare tactic to the union leadership to get them to back off and say, well, maybe okay. Bix Weir came on out with this article about this emergency $75 billion federal bank bailout, and it's really not enough. Apparently, they made this $75 billion available to the banks that soaked up $53 billion, and this is going to be just the start. And apparently, a big part of this are the derivatives over at Bank of America. They have a huge exposure there. All righty, Amazon has reportedly changed their search algorithm to favor the more profitable products. Seeing this happen everywhere. Search engines are being edited to push particular agendas, and in this case, Amazon's product search algorithm more prominently shows products that are more profitable for Amazon, including its own in-house brands. I think that's a little unfair to other people who have their products on Amazon. Anyway, as I mentioned before, the Pentagon has revealed in court filings it does not have the funds to build a 20-mile section of the border wall between the United States and Mexico. So where did the money go? I remember back in, I think it was the 1990s, Congress passed a bill funding 700 miles of border wall, of which only 35 was actually built, and nobody knows where the rest of the money went, and nobody knows who gave the order to stop construction. But that open border is completely wide open, and the illegals are pouring on in, and it's putting a huge strain on our economy. If we're really heading into a new recession and an economic downturn, those illegal immigrants are going to be a huge strain on the struggling economy. Now, this one really bothers me. 2 illegal aliens who were granted the right to stay in the United States by Barack Obama have now filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration to make sure they can continue to receive taxpayer money in the form of welfare and still be able to obtain green cards to permanently stay in the country. Because as you know, Donald Trump came on out and said, basically, if you're in this country illegally, you're not allowed to receive welfare and you can't get a green card. And so they're taking him to court to sue for the right food stamps and subsidized health care. The illegals are being treated better than U.S. citizens. Now, Tom Fitton over at Judicial Watch is calling on the Department of Justice to criminally prosecute public officials who aid and abet illegal alien criminals. And Tom is absolutely correct. All of these mayors and governors of sanctuary states and sanctuary counties and sanctuary cities, they're on violation of Title VIII. Congress doesn't need to pass any new laws. the laws are already on the book. They're just not being enforced. And we have to ask why. We understand why the liberals don't want the laws enforced. They're going to use those illegal immigrants to try and steal next year's election. But why isn't Trump and the GOP trying to do something about it? Maybe Trump really doesn't want a second term in office. He's acting like it. Tucker Carlson said exactly the same thing. He's going to go on out. He's going to campaign next year because he loves campaigning. And he does it really well. He gives really good speeches. And then he'll graciously lose to whoever the Democrats put on up there. I hope it isn't Hillary Clinton. And he'll go back to being a reality TV star. He'll write some books, do public appearances. He loves the attention here. Now, down in New Zealand, following the Christchurch massacre, New Zealand issued a ban on virtually all semi-automatic firearms. And now if you live in New Zealand and if you refuse to hand semi-automatic guns in, you face 5 years in jail. And this despite the fact that the shooter himself said in his own manifesto that provoking mass gun confiscation was one of his intended goals. So this guy got his wish. Still trying to figure out what was so dangerous about that video that New Zealand banned it and threatened to throw anybody in jail who looked at it, watched it, posted it, or even had it on their computers. There had to be something in there. Now, the other day we were talking about this revelation that's come on out that Israel is behind this network of unofficial Stingray cell phone surveillance devices in Washington, D.C., particularly around the White House. And presidents going back to Harry Truman have known how aggressively Israel spies on us. But Trump is he's shrugging his shoulder. He's basically brushing this all under the rug. This is a serious, serious thing. And you would think after all the spying that was done on him as part of this whole Russiagate situation, that he'd be particularly sensitive to this issue. Apparently not. Meanwhile, little story that you may not be aware of. Apparently, 2 secretive Israeli companies reportedly bugged the entire U.S. telecommunications grid for the NSA. And according to a former Verizon employee briefed on the program, Verint, which is owned by Converse Technology, taps the communication lines at Verizon. Converse Infosys actually builds tapping equipment to install on American phone lines. Over at AT&T, there was another whistleblower, Mark Klein, all the way back in 2004, and he discovered this secret room at AT&T central office in San Francisco through which the NSA actively vacuumed up internet and phone call data from ordinary Americans with the cooperation of AT&T. No warrant, no respect for the Fourth Amendment. Yes, we're going to get it all. So both Verint and Narus were founded in Israel in the 1990s. And my guess is they probably have back doors in them so that Israel gets all the goodies as well as the NSA. All right, Israel is also paying internet workers to manipulate online content such as Wikipedia. Well, they're hardly alone in that. We know that the climate cult was doing that. Pharmaceutical companies are doing that. They're trying to control the online internet community as tightly as they control corporate media. And it's up to us to figure out ways around that. All righty, let's see. Apparently over in Pennsylvania, State Senator Michael Fulmer has been arrested for child porn. And I can't understand what this guy was thinking. He uploaded the child porn online. This guy is 63 years old. He's a Republican who represents Lebanon, Dauphin, and York counties, and he was taken into custody after he allegedly uploaded the illegal photos to Tumblr. You've got to be some kind of an idiot to do that. Over in New York, Stanley Rosenfield, now 84, has been arrested for production of child pornography. And he's admitted to abusing hundreds of boys at this Jewish day school that he administered throughout his lifetime. It's just, you have to, is this a sign of the decline of America's civilization, the way we abuse our children? And it may well be, because according to the FBI, sex with children is the fastest growing illegal business in America. And children, young girls, some as young as 9 years old, are being bought and sold for sex in America. The average age for a young woman being sold for sex is now 13 years old. This is the dark secret of America. And sex trafficking, especially when it comes to the buying and selling of young girls, has become big business. It's the fastest growing business in organized crime and second most lucrative commodity traded legally after drugs and guns. Now, wasn't Trump going to do something about human trafficking? I seem to recall at some point in his speechification that he said, yeah, he was going to do something about the human trafficking. Okay, we're coming up here on another commercial break, our last commercial break for today's show. We've got a caller waiting on the line, and we'll be back as soon as the music starts. And I'm going to keep talking so we don't have dead air. And any second now. There it is. There's the music. We'll be back with a phone call after these few words.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit,
and want a level of trading that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range. Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today here, and we're going to go to the phones to Jeff in California. Aloha, Jeff. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
A very simple message. No pontification. I don't want to make your show my show. Just very positive. People just need to look for the positive. You just have to hang on to that, because that's what most people that you know, that I know, are like. We don't know people who do all these things. We just don't know them. The general public, the general population that we deal with, it's just fine. They're positive. They're perfect. Even the ones that we might look at, oh no, you get to talk to them. Oh, you're just fine. This is what we need to hold on to. We need to have a message. I'm using your platform. I guess people are good.
Yes, you are.
Not me. People are good, Michael. There's
most people are good.
That we're seeing, and we'll resist it. The small percentage is not going to get away with it. It may be their era. I don't know. There's a lot of things to be said, but it doesn't prevail. It just doesn't prevail. Look at history. What really has prevailed? The goodness in people.
Well, again, the vast majority of people are inherently good, but unfortunately the bad ones tend to unfortunately grab the headlines, the wealth, and the power and the control. Anyway, Jeff, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to let you go. We got time enough for one more story before the end of the program here. Down in Brazil, they had an experiment that deliberately released genetically modified mosquitoes, and the experiment appears to have failed miserably and may have even resulted in super mosquitoes, according to a Yale research paper published earlier this month. Now, during a 27-month experiment aimed at curbing the spread of yellow fever, dengue, Zika, and other mosquito-borne diseases, approximately 450,000 male OX513A mosquitoes modified by British biotech company Oxeter were released into the wild in 2013. Females who mate with the designer mosquitoes produce non-viable offspring, while Oxeter said that the man-made modifications wouldn't make it into the total insect population. They were wrong. This gene is being passed on, and even worse, the mosquitoes have evolved to reproduce successfully despite that gene. So they just made the problems worse. By the way, if I recall correctly, this was one of Bill Gates' ventures here. All right, I am getting a ton of stories, and it's all the same thing. Apparently, there's some UFO videos that the Navy is saying, yes, they're real, they never should have been released. And every time they push UFOs, and this was even on Fox News, it means the US government is testing something up in the air. They want people to think it's an alien spaceship. And this is a cover-up tactic that they have definitely used before. Latest survey is showing that half of Britons are climate skeptics. And just get this down here. We should be hearing music right about now.